Hey Avishkaris! Welcome back to another exciting episode of Avishkar Game Builder video series. In this video, we are going to solve the senior level problem statement. We have already solved the problem statement of junior level and middle level in the last two videos. If you have not seen those videos, go watch them first because we have discussed some of the most important logics of game builder in those videos. We have discussed how to create sprite groups and how to select random images in that group. We have also covered some of the major components like properties and the score and lives thing. So without wasting any more time, let's get started with the senior level problems here.
Let's understand the problem statement first. It says develop a game where players control a shooter sprite using hand gestures to shoot at targets falling from above. Projectiles must hit the targets falling from above to score points and avoid losing lives. Successfully hitting the targets win the score, while missing them affect their life. This means that we need to shoot some targets falling from the top and the shooter will be at the bottom. We will move the shooter with our hand and use some hand gestures to shoot some projectiles or some bullets. Now let's add all these assets into our game. So I've added all these sprites into my game and cropped them according to their size. Now let's work on the game logic. First of all, I'll pick up the game setup and game loop block. First, I'll set up my sprites. So I'll create some sprites named as cannon and dart. So I'll start with the cannon sprite first, set its image and check. So you can see the cannon sprite is in the center and the size is almost perfect. Now I can set its position. So I'll go to sprite, set sprite cannon position to half width and then I can set it to height. Now when I save it and play, you can see half of the sprite is has gone below the bottom of the screen. Okay, so basically whenever we place some sprite on our screen, the center point of the sprite is the origin of the sprite. So basically whenever we change the position of the sprite, that center point position is changed. Now what we have done is we have set the position of that center sprite at the bottom of the screen. So instead of doing that, what we'll do, we'll just minus or subtract the half height of the sprite from the bottom. Okay, so basically if this is 800, we'll do 800 minus 100, something like that. Okay, how to get that, I'll just tell you. We'll just go to mathematics and then half world height and then I'll subtract the sprite half height. Okay, so I'll get its position cannon and half height. Now half of the height of the sprite will get subtracted from the total screen width, screen height, and you can see the sprite is in bottom now. Okay, so stop. Now the next thing is I can set the background. So I'll set the background to this. I'll increase the image opacity to 100%. Save and play. Yeah, you can see the background is fixed, the sprite cannon sprite is fixed. Now we can work on more sprites. We can add the background music, so I'll play the background music at the top. It is very important to control the volume of your background music, because the background music should not be too loud so that it don't interrupt with the other tones that we have in our game. So I'm just keeping it to you can see, you can change the slider or you can type in something over here. I'm just keeping it to 40%. Okay, so something like this, 40%. Now let's create another sprite. I've already created the dart sprite, so I'll just and dart. Now you can see the dart sprite is created. Let's see how it is looking first, because if we need to change the size of the sprite, we should do that. Yeah, the size of the sprite, dart sprite is too big. So I'll just go to this and I'll reduce the scale to around 20% only. And then I set the position. I set the position of the dart to something like this, to same of the cannon. Okay. And save, let's play it first and then we'll hide it later. Okay, you can see both of the sizes, both of the sprite sizes, the cannon size and the dart size are same. Now what I can do is I can actually make this dart hidden, and I can only enable it when I want to. Okay, so first of all I'll make this as hidden, and I create a property. I'll go to sprite and I'll create a property is fired. This property will help us to keep track of uh, firing of the dart, that if we have fired it or not, and then when we wanted to shoot it again, we can use this property. Okay, I guess this is done and I'll save it. So next is I want to create a group for my balloons. So I'll go to sprite, I'll create a sprite group and I'll name it balloon, and then I create this. I will choose the balloon sprite, and then I will just go to sprite. For each sprite in I will set the scale. So yeah, set scale. Scale should be around 80%. I will check it later. And then I will set the position. So again, I will change this to I, and instead of this I will use a random number. So in X I will use a random number, so random between uh, anything like 100 to 700. Okay, and then this uh, should be 0. Okay, so they should always pop up from the top, and save it. Now let's test and see how they are looking. Yeah, you can see the balloons are looking fine at the top. So this was all about our setup. We will also create a property for our balloon. Uh, I guess we can also check that property. So for example, I'll go to sprite, I'll create sprite property, and I'll name it is popped. So with this property, we will check if the balloon is popped or not. Okay. Initially, I will keep it as 0 whenever we use this, whenever we create this. And I guess with this, our setup is done. Now the next part is to start moving them down and then try to shoot them with our fingers. Okay. Also, one more thing, we need to create some markers. So I'll go to marker, create marker. I'll name it thumb marker, and I'll name this one as index marker. So create marker, duplicate marker, set marker diameter, I can increase it to 10, duplicate to thumb marker, this one as thumb marker, and then color, by default I will keep it as red, and initially I will keep them as hidden. Okay, so yeah, thumb markers. Yeah, with this I guess all our setup is done. I have made a mistake, sorry. I will keep it outside the for loop. Okay, so all of this should be outside the for loop of our group, and now we can save it. Now let's move on to the game loop. The first thing we want to do is to actually shoot the dart. So for that, I will first use this block, an if block, and then I'll check if hand is detected or not. If the hand is detected, I will enable the markers. So set marker, index marker visible and thumb marker visible. Okay. Then I want to set their position. So the position of these two markers will be, I'll go to marker again, set marker position, index marker, duplicate and thumb marker. Then I'll go to this and this and duplicate it to thumb. Once this is done, I will check this, and then I will also add one more thing, which is basically changing the position of my cannon using my hand. Okay, so let's make a simple logic. I'll go to sprite and I'll select this, set sprite cannon position with respect to the hand. So I will use this, y should be same and the x should be this. Okay, so save it and let's play. And now you can see both the markers are visible, but you can see the cannon is in the right because I am having my hand like this. I will first turn off the sound so that you can hear me clearly. So you can see the cannon is actually mapping this wrist point and the markers are over here. So if I shoot the dart, I should keep my hand like this. Or what I can do is, and now you can see it's not easy for me to keep my hand like this because generally we will like it is easier for me to do it like this. So instead of mapping the cannon to my wrist, what I can do is I can map it between I can map it to a position between these 2 points. Also I need to change the color of the markers. Okay, so let's do that. So marker color, index and thumb both are red. Then instead of getting the position of wrist, I will use this block. So I will get mathematics and this block. Get midpoint between these 2 points or these 2 key points. Okay, so save, play, and let's test. And yes, now you can see the cannon is actually mapped between a position of these 2 points. Okay, so yeah, wherever I move the midpoint of these 2 points or these 2 fingers, the cannon will take that position only. Okay, so even if I keep it like this or like this, it will be always in the center. Okay, so this is a small logic which we have created, and similarly you need to like modify your game or modify your logic according to the game. Now in this game we are shooting a dart, that means it should shoot from the exact same location where our fingers are. So that's why we need to tweak the logic of moving the hand or moving the cannon with respect to our hand. Okay, so once this is done, now let's calculate the distance between these 2 points. So the next point is create a variable, stop the game, create a variable, name it as distance, set distance to calculate distance between again these 2 points, and then if the distance is less than, so control less than mathematics, this variable, this, and this will be 25. So it is 25. I can keep it to around 40 based on my camera. You can change it according to your camera settings. So if it is less than 40, then what should be done? First of all, I will make the dart position or dart sprite as visible. So I will make this dart as visible, and then I will make the property is fired to 1. Okay, and if you want to change the color of your markers, you can also do that. For example, let's change the color, duplicate these two blocks, make it to green, and then we will start moving the dart. Okay, so again, now what I'll do is I will first add one logic. So that will be like this: if property of the sprite is fired is 0. So I've used a not. Okay, if this is 0, then only it should start moving upwards. Okay, so I'll go to this block and I will find this. Yes, change dart y by 0.1, and actually minus 0.2, so that it should start moving in the upward direction. Okay, and save. And if I'll set one more if, so when it reaches the top, it should be again reset back to the same position. Okay, so again, if sprite get sprite position, if the get sprite, so I can choose anything, but I can pick this one. I will select this. If dart y is less than is less than 0, 0 should be the top, is less than 0, then what should happen? The sprite visibility should be hidden, and we will change the position of the sprite or the dart to this, back to the cannon. Then we will set this to 0, and yes. Okay, so all those things are done, and yes, now we can test. Okay, so save and let's test. So yeah, there is some error. Let's see what is the error. Actually, yeah, if you remember from the last video of middle level solution, whenever we get an error, you should check the highlighted block, the last highlighted block. So if you will see this, this is the highlighted block, and if you can see, I have used I should not use I should use dart, and the property should be is fired, not is popped. Okay, is fired, and save, and then play it again. Yeah, so now what is happening basically, this is like this is becoming visible, but it is not moving. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I have made some changes, and here you can see if the distance is less than 40, I am changing the color to green, else I will actually change the color back to red, because they will not change if I don't when I increase the distance between the 2 points. Okay, so once this is done, then I'm resetting the position of dart, because earlier we were setting it to the center position of the cannon, and that was once in the setup. Now I'm doing it again so that it will take the cannon position. Okay, and x should not be this. In this case, it should be the cannon x. So the x position should be similar or same to cannon, and height should be the same. Okay. Now the next thing is, if the property is fired is 0, that is why we have used a not. If this is 0, then we will make the property as 1, increase the flag to 1, and then make the sprite visible. Okay. Else the markers will stay red, and then I have actually like made all of the logic of moving the dart upwards outside the if hand detected block. Okay. So even if we remove our hand, the dart will still move. Okay. So you can see if the property is 1, then the dart should move upwards by minus 0.2, and when the dart reaches the position of top edge, the position should be reset, and the reset position again should be this. So x, and then again we are making the property of is fired as 0. Now let's test this. Yes, now you can see this is happening. Okay. Now let's add another logic, which is to pop the balloons. So first I'll make the balloons pop, and then later on I'll move them downwards. Okay. Or we can do however we want. So this is done. Now let's add a loop from the sprite group. So yeah, this is a loop. And this time for each sprite j in balloon, I will first move the sprites downward. So I should move downwards by 0.5, and then we will check for certain conditions. Okay. Initially I've set the property is pop to 0. So now I will check this. If the property is 0 and if it is touching any other sprite. So I'm going to sprite, and yes, if the j sprite is touching the dart and the property of j is popped is 0. So over here it will check for 1. I will use a not, and now it will check for 0. If these two things are happening, then what should we do? We should first change the image of our sprite. So change, actually, let's see if we have a change image. No, we don't have a change image, and set sprite j to this. Okay. And this, let's see. Yeah. Okay. This is how it will look, and save it. Okay. And then what we'll do is I will set the property, this property j is popped to 1. Okay. And now they should pop. So let's test. Yeah, you can see I'm able to do this. Now the next thing is to add scores and lives into our game, and for that I have created some variables of lives and scores and set the game life and game score to the same variable. I've kept the lives to 5 and score to 0 initially. Now let's increase the score whenever this thing is happening, whenever we are popping a balloon correctly. Okay, so I'll go to variable, I'll set the score, I'll add mathematics block and score plus 1. Also, I will actually duplicate that block. So yeah, next thing is to set the game score to the same. Okay, so save it and let's test. So score 1, 2. Okay, and yeah, so yes, now this thing is done. Next thing is to reset the position of the balloon sprites after getting hit, or without getting hit, back to the top, and check if we should reduce the life. So there is a point in our game which says the lives should be decreased if the unpopped balloon reaches the bottom. Okay, so I'll use an if block, an if block, and I will first check if the position of my sprite, and it should be, yeah, this, if the j y is greater than world height. Okay, if this thing is happening, next we want to check if it is popped or not. Okay, so j property, actually not this, yeah, if the j is not popped, then one thing we should do is set the lives to lives minus 1, and then we will play a short tone. So yeah, similarly we'll play a short tone over here when we pop it, and it will be pop. Okay, once this is done, next we want to check, or yeah, let's just reduce it and reduce the lives, and then set the lives, actually display the lives. So yeah, this thing is done. Save it. Now this only reduces the lives but not resetting back the position of the balloon. Okay, so for that I will use this block actually, or I can duplicate the previous one, this one. So I'm keeping it over here. It should be j, and yes, and then I will set the property of balloon, which will be j is popped back to 0. Let's test it now. So 1, 2, and you can see I'm able to pop it, but the images were not changed back. Okay, so one more thing we want to do is to change the image back to this, and now play. Yeah, 2 scores, and yes. Okay, let's not hit them this time and see if the lives is working. 2 lives reduced. And one more thing, you can see both of them are like they are at different x position, but they are falling at the same speed. So it is very easy for me, or maybe some very difficult for someone, uh, although very easy. So I'll just make it difficult. What I'll do is, instead of popping them onto 0, I will just do this. So I will use minus 50 to plus 50. Okay, and similarly I will do the same thing over here. Now this will give them some gap. Let's test it. So now they will be like this, not in the same line. This time without popping. And this brings us to the next thing. The game is not over. The lives are less than 0, but the game is not over. So I will just add one more logic, which will be if block, and we will check if the lives is equal to 0. Go to mathematics, 0. One thing I want to do is to stop the game. So stop the game. Stop game loop. Display a text, which will be you lost. So you lost. And the size will be like 50, and I will choose a center position. So this will be half width, and this will be half height. Similarly, I can add an else if. So stop game loop. If the score is greater than equal to 10, I will show you won. So you won, and it will be in green color. So save and let's play. You won, and you can see the text is at the bottom. Actually, it should be half height. Similarly, half height. Save it. When the score was greater than 10 or equal to 10, actually equal to greater than 10, I saw a text you won and the game was stopped. Next thing, let's test for the lost. Okay, game over. So I'm not popping anything. You lost. Okay, so this is how you will actually create your game. This is how we will solve the senior level problem statement. It was a fairly simple problem statement where we used the logic of group to create two balloons at the top, random at random position. We selected different random position for x and y, and then we started them. We started moving them downwards, and if they are popped using a projectile, will increase the score. If not popped and reach the bottom, will decrease the score. Okay, I have not used any different logic other than middle and junior level problem statement or solution. I have only used this one. So this logic was the only difference in this game. I was trying to like keep the cannon at this position, and if I set it to world height instead of a number, the center position of the sprite will come at this position, and half of the sprites will be below the screen. Okay, beyond the screen. So to move it up, we are reducing half height of the sprite. Okay, so if we reduce that, it will be on top of that. And apart from that, there was no new logic. I hope you design this game, solve it yourself, and if there is any questions, please let me know and through the comments, and we'll meet in the next class with a new problem statement or with some new game using the Avishkaar game builder. Till then, stay safe, stay creative. Bye bye.